Okay, hello and welcome to this short lecture video covering macros in Excel. And this one's going to be kind of short. It's just going to give you a quick overview of how to record a macro and how to run the macro, and then also kind of giving you some context of how you can use macros. You're not going to become an expert in macros or writing Visual Basic code from this lecture video, but again, it's just kind of giving you an overview. All right, so what are macros? So macros are basically, let's see, Excel users record keystrokes in macros. So the macro is going to record whatever you type, wherever you click, what buttons you select, what formatting you might do, how you format for printing. However, it's going to record all those mouse clicks and all those keystrokes, and it's going to turn those clicks and mouse strokes into Visual Basic for Applications code. And what you can do is you can run that code, that programming code, again at another time to save time on some repetitive tasks. So basically, you can automate some repetitive tasks by using a macro. So for example, you could use macros for cleaning and formatting data, for hiding sheets, listing all the sheets in a workbook. Some of this doing that right over here may actually involve doing more than just recording a macro. It may actually writing some custom Visual Basic for application code to do some of that. But know that you can do that. The one thing that we're going to talk about in this one is setting print areas. One of the tricky things is that if you might have multiple sheets and you want to apply the print settings from one worksheet to another. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to quickly do that just with a macro, and that's one way to do it. All right, so one other thing about macros that we have to understand is that macros are saved in a special Excel file type that has the XLSM extension. So if we come into here in Microsoft Excel, this is going to be our example macro spreadsheet right here that we'll be working with. But if I want to come in here and go File, New, and a blank workbook, what I would have to do is, if I recorded a macro, what I would have to do is go File, Save As, and then I can save it here, but I need to save it as an XLSM file. Okay, so this file that we're going to be working with, not the book 2, but this one, see, it's XLSM. If you don't save it as XLSM, it's not going to be able to run the macro. So if you record a macro and you've saved it as an XLSX file, a normal Excel file, and then you record a macro, and then what's going to happen is that and you try to save it again, Excel's going to tell you this has a macro. If you want to save it so that the macro works, you need to save it under a different file extension of XLSM, and that's where you would just go to File, Save As, and select XLSM, not XLSX, for your type of file. Okay, so let's look at our example right over here. So this is our Excel macros example for print settings XLSM. So if we look over here, how to record a macro. Now there's two different ways to record a macro. The first way comes pretty standard with Excel, and you would just go to View, Macros, Record Macro. So if I just go up here, View, then Macros, and I can record a macro right there. Okay, that's one way to do it. If you want to be a little bit more sophisticated and you want to actually write some custom Visual Basic for Applications code, or if you want to view the code, that's generated when you record a macro, what you can do is add in the developer here to the ribbon. In the way that you may not have this developer on your own laptop or your own desktop, wherever you're working right over here, you may not have this developer. And if you don't, I'll show you how to get to it. So what you do is you go File, and then you go down to Options. Then you come over here to Customize Ribbon and click on the developer. Yours may be unchecked, but if it's unchecked, just check it. And then what will happen is you'll have this developer, and this is where you can come in here and record macros, and you can also do some custom Visual Basic code here if you wanted to. Let's come back over here to macros. Now, if I look at this spreadsheet, I have two worksheets right over here. I have fiscal year 2018, fiscal year 2019, and this is just showing, this is just a performance report that's showing actual to budget, showing the variance, and whether it's favorable or unfavorable. Okay? Now you can see this little dotted line. This is saying that this is not going to print all on one page. And so what I need to do is to come in here and change the print settings. The way I can do that is I'm just going to come over here. I just already have this, and I'm just going to go print preview. There's multiple different ways to do this. This is just the way I'm going to do it. Print preview, then I just go to page setup. All right, so this is where I can change it. But you can see right over here I have two worksheets. And so let's say that I had already formatted. Let's say that what we did is we came in here and let me come back, and I'm going to go ahead and record a macro because I'm going to format this. I'm going to record a macro so that I can run this macro on another worksheet that I have, and it will automatically format the print settings for that other worksheet. So I'm going to go ahead and come in here. I'm going to record a macro, and I'll record my keystrokes as I'm coming in here and doing the print settings. So I'm going to call this print settings macro and give it a name. I can give it a description if I want to. I'm not going to. I can give it even a shortcut key if I wanted to. If I could go Control, I need to pick a letter, not like Control U or Control B, something else, maybe even Control W or something like that. I don't typically use that. I just come in over here and just execute the macro from up here. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and record the macro. So now what's happening is we're in recording mode. So I can come over here and I'll go to print preview like I was doing before. I'm going to go to page setup. I'm going to say fit to one page wide. Okay, and I'm going to set it to landscape because you can see that's why it's getting cut off because it's in portrait. And what will happen, because I'm setting this to landscape, is this will be less than 100%. I want it to be centered on the page horizontally. I don't really want it to be centered vertically, otherwise it'll put it way down here. I'm going to go ahead and give it a custom header. And I already got something there. I'm just going to retype it. I'm just going to go actual versus budget performance report. Okay? And I can come down here to the custom footer. And what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and put in the date there. And then over here, I'm going to put in the page number and then of the pages. Okay? And so now what I can do is I can hit OK, and I'm going to take a look. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That's what I'm looking for. So that looks good. I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to go stop recording. Okay? So now the macro is stopped recording. So what I can do is now I can come over here and say View Macros. Okay? And this is the one that we just did. I can come over here and go Edit. And you can see what's happening is it's recording all the keystrokes that we have, that we just did right there, all the way down. Okay? Records everything, and you can see here's where it put in the header. Okay? So the nice thing is it records everything for you. All right? So I'm going to close out of that, and I'm back over here. And then let's say I go ahead and put in a new worksheet, FY 2019. And this one is not formatted. This one, I mean, the print area is not formatted over here. And so I don't want to have to go back through and do all that. You know, go back through page print view, preview, go to page setup, go do all of that I had to do. That's time consuming. And especially if I had changed some of the print areas and I wanted to apply to all the worksheets, it's going to be a pain to go back through and repetitively do that. So a macro can be useful in this situation. So I want to apply the print settings that I did here to over here. And a macro is one way to do that. So I'll just come over here and I'll go Macros, and I'll go View Macros. This is one that I recorded earlier, the print settings. This is the one that we just recorded, print settings. And now what I can do, and well, come back over here and we'll double check. Here's print preview. You can see it's not formatted. And now I can come over here and say View Macros. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Run. And now I'll come over here, and this is, you can see I'm on the FY 2019. And it takes the same print settings from the FY 2018 worksheet and then applies it over here. So that is a really nice way to use a macro, because you can automatically format all your worksheets the same way just by coming in here and then saying, okay, I'm going to add a new worksheet, FY 2020, and I copy and paste this over here, put it here, make some changes, and then I can just come over here and say, you run the macro, run the print settings macro, and it'll automatically do so. The other thing, if you really want to be more technical, you can come over here, and this is where you can start doing your own custom macros, okay? So I can look over here, for example, I can go to Edit, and then this is where I could change some things. I could make some changes in here if I wanted to. I could add in some extra code if I wanted to. Doing that is a little bit beyond this lecture video. The point of this lecture video was just to show you how to record a macro and then how to run the macro. All right, so to quickly recap, what you can do to record the macro is you just come over here to Macros, record the macro. It records your keystrokes, records your mouse clicks, and then to run the macro, come over here to View, Macros, View Macros, pick the macro that you want, and then just click Run, and then it runs. Okay? So this file right over here, and then this file, they will both be posted up on Canvas. Okay, and so you could go ahead and look around with that. All right, and so I'll post them up on Canvas right down over here. All right. So thank you so much for your time. Take care.